Hello, I'm the Smoking Cheddar, but you probably already knew that. So, normally I would do a unit build on my downtime week. Um, we're not going to do a unit build. We're going to do my unit prep for the next conquest. So, if you watched my previous live stream slash video VOD, whatever, um, you'll know that we're planning on making our navy more base to base orientated, and we're going to get rid of that Vanguard destroyer. But we also want to maintain our 5-3-3 setup to maximize our damage resistance and our damage intensity bonus from the camp's tree. So that means I need to swap another Vanguard unit over to Liberty. Now, obviously, I'm not going to change anything on the ground because the only Vanguard unit I have on the ground is the anti-tank gun, which can double up to infantry if I should go on a base assault or need a field unit. That leaves my Air Force. Now, why do I need to change one over on the Air Force? Well, at the moment, Liberty sit in the 3 bracket. And if I'm going to change the anti-air destroyer to a Liberty missile destroyer, that is going to increase it to 4, and the maximum is 5-3-3. So I need to take something out of the Air Force. Now, if you were watching that last stream, we debated, or I debated with myself, the pros and cons of keeping a Vanguard bomber or swapping over to a Liberty fighter. Now, the Liberty fighter it would actually technically be better, but the problem was there was a skin that I knew I could get through the exchange. Now, that skin didn't drop in the exchange because the exchange, don't look at the Air Force, it's a surprise. The exchange dropped this, so I didn't get the fighter that I was after. However, the anniversary encore event happened, and yes, this skin dropped, which is for a Vanguard fighter. So that means I only really left with one choice, and that is to swap the Vanguard bomber for a Liberty bomber. Now, this means my entire Air Force needs to be rearranged. I need to rearrange the bombers, the bombing officers. I need to rearrange the trained skills. I need to rearrange the captains and aides on both the fighters. This skin basically gives me an edge on everyone else who doesn't have a fighter skin, and even some that do, because I'm able to use one skin for 2 fighters, and obviously I'm using a twin interceptor. Now, obviously, the Liberty bomber is at its best when it's leveling enemy bases, and with twin interceptors, you're not really going to have much of a soak available to do that, but it's a start. So what we're going to do for the time being going forward is we're going to focus very heavily on our interceptor officers and our interceptor build. And later on, once we've completed our interceptor officers and interceptor build, and we've completed our bomber officer build, we will then look at getting a soak setup that I can use with the interceptor. Obviously, it'll be less, it'll be nowhere near as good as running a Martyr fighter to do that, but I think it'll do enough. So just to gawp at the fighters for a second, as you can see here, we have twin interceptors. Now, at the moment, one's slightly buffed at 19, which is actually my weaker aircraft. As you can see here, it's sitting at 6.98, and the other one is sitting at 12.9. I believe 17 is unbuffed for them. And we're sitting on 59,500 wrenches. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the Air Force tab. We're going to go in here and we're going to parts, and we're just going to dump all of those straight into the fighter, bring it up to level 24. It's going to complain about a part, is it? I mean, I get a camp bonus of 30%, so no. So that should now... There we go. It's just over 7, but obviously we need to untrain and retrain it in order to get its actual... I can't do that while it's deployed. Of course I can't, because why would I? I can do it with every other unit in the game. Why can't I do it with my fighters? Remove, deploy. We'll get a true scope for it in a second. So the officers. This is obviously also going to include the gear, and I've then got to save it to every one of these tabs. So that's going to be fun. And then once I've done that, I'm just going to end the stream because this is going to take a hot minute. So we have a choice. In terms of Air Force, we have this fighter, which is gold plus plus on everything, and it's camp specific. And it's already at 2020. This is the lesser unit with only a gold plus plus, which is not camp specific, and gold plus on everything else. And it is only at level 24. So this is objectively going to be just simply not as good. So what we're going to do is we're going to need to decide between our officers which way round we want them. Now, the 4 officers, sorry, I'm holding up 2 fingers, the 4 officers I can count that we have are Bladewing, Darkwing, Skyjockey, and Nighthawk. These are all intercept officers, but 2 of them are intercept skill and 2 of them are intercept crit. So what we need to decide is which one the crit officers are going on and which one the skill officers are going on. So obviously the skill damage is going to be massively boosted by the firepower output of the fighters. So looking at the fighters, we've got a 3.96 over a 2.73, which is quite a bit more. I don't know if that's because they're not fully trained yet or what. Man, that's slow as hell. Sometime today? Okay. No. Okay, so we need to decide. This one has the higher intercept as well. So I think it will be best if we go off the intercept mechanic rather than the firepower, as this is what we're really using the interceptor, the twin interceptors for. We're using it for this mechanic. So what we need to do is we need to determine which officer pairing out of these 4 will give us the highest intercept while maintaining 1 skill, 1 crit. Obviously, Skyjockey is a critical strike officer. Here we've got a critical strike rating, damage intensity and intercept, maneuverability and damage resistance. This officer's fighter plane troop will strike an enemy again after landing a critical strike with its normal attacks, dealing skill damage of 200 coefficiency. Can trigger once every 2 seconds. Right. So, Army tab, Air Force. We're just going to remove all of the officers for both aircraft. Then we're going to remove all of their skills. And we're going to completely start from scratch. Now, I believe Nighthawk here is a skill damage. Yeah, we've got 900 damage coefficiency with damage intensity, damage resistance, officer skill boost. Increases the officer skill boost of this troop by 13%. Okay, cool. Increases the intercept of this officer's fire plane and intercept resilience. Cool. Troop attacks reduces the enemy damage resistance by 15% for 4 seconds. Okay, right. So I think we will have Bladewing as the captain, because that'll just make him look a little bit more scary. And then we will put doofus here. We need to remove those skills. We'll put the skill damage and the intercept on this pair here, and then we will put the critical strike officers down here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to sort out the gear. And we're just going to like remove everything, I guess. Unequip. Unequip. Right, so we have 4 items here. We've got troop intercept, damage intensity and HP, firepower normal attack boost, troop HP, firepower damage resist, and normal attack boost. Okay, so the normal attack boosts are definitely going on the critical strike build, as a critical strike build is using normal attacks. And then we can have the damage intensity and intercept bonuses, along with our firepower to boost that skill damage, the damage resistance, as this one will be mostly first to fight. Now, what we need to do is sort out the critical strike specials first, which is additional critical strike damage for the unit. That is damage intensity. We can't actually upgrade that at the moment, so perhaps now we've got that in, we should look at the main officer. Maneuverability bonus. Okay, that's a potential. Cruising speed, but it's for bombers only. Shield coefficiency when the unit is attacked. Couldn't hurt. Couldn't hurt. And then we want intercept bonuses for this one. And damage intensity. Balanced. Can't use that. Protection. HP damage resistance. That's handy if we're using a massive amount of... if we're using the intercept mechanic, I guess. So we could go with that one. Offense, firepower, and intercept. Here we go. Another intercept bonus here for us. Okay, happy with that so far. Ideally, we want normal attack. Damage intensity. Pretty handy for critical strike, we're not going to lie. So we'll take that. Can we pick up damage intensity again? Now, is he... I forget if he's a lounge officer. I know he's crap, but is he a lounge officer? He is. Ugh, gross. Oh, no, he isn't. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So we'll take that, because that's damage intensity. And then we just need to take something. Anything. Damage resistance to this officer's troop. Or HP. Well... we're in the middle of leveling the HP. So we'll take that. So we have our fighters now. Let's see what they look like when we pull them out as a squadron. Oh, do you know what? Probably need to give them a squadron. Let's have a look and see what they both look like now. 10.1 and 8.57s. That's not too bad. Oh, my camera's gone off. Typical. I don't know why it does this sometimes. So, do you know what we'll do? We'll just hide it. We'll just hide it because you don't really need to see me anyway. So that's fairly irrelevant. So we've got these are. I mean, you know, I'm used to having like in the double digits for one of my fighters anyway. So this is going to be pretty scary for anyone coming up against it. We do have two out of the 4 officers already awakened, and we are currently working on getting Sky Jockey. Sky Jockey, as you can see here, we are 1 skill complete, and the other skills are we've got enough statues to get another one actually. I'll get the maneuverability and damage resistance. Okay, let's give it a quick test. Let's find a bunker. There's one. Just waddle over there with some infantry. These guys are moving at the same speed now as well, which is nice. They weren't doing that before. So we'll let the infantry engage the bunker. Let a couple of fighters deploy. Pull back the infantry. 37k. Not bad. Not bad at all. I think the proof will be in the pudding once we go into the conquest. Now the question is, what setup have I got set up? S2 defense currently. So S2 defense, save. And now comes the tricky bit where I've got to remember exactly everything I've done. So I can do this again. Actually, can I change the officers while they're flying? I think I can, can't I? Going to infantry base to base. Are we getting a ground force complaint? Whatever. And now we begin the process all over again. And now I've got to completely remember. Of course, I remember exactly what we put. Holy shit, I don't remember. I don't remember at all. Because why would I possess the ability to remember? Yeah, Nighthawk. Nighthawk. Nighthawk's going to be on the list after Sky Jockey. We're going to get that set up first. Right. Okay. So let's deploy him into that slot. Deploy him into that slot, and Sky Jockey into that slot. Right, now I need to remember exactly what I put. This one and that one on them two. And we had the Star and the Fighter Special. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay, right, that's that. Now, what gear did I give them? Helmet and flare gun for these two. Oh, I can't do that from here, can I? I have to do that from the officer screen. Yeah, I could do. I could do that. At the moment, the plan is really just to so last conquest I got I got my ass handed to me in the sky on more than one occasion, and to be perfectly honest, I didn't like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting the setup in place that I want now, because I'm going to build into it. And it takes about 6 weeks to get an officer, and she's just under halfway. So we're going to get another 3 weeks to 4 weeks. Sky Jockey's going to be done. So we're going to have one. Well, the critical strike fighter will be finished by the end of next conquest, and by the end of the following conquest, we will have the skill shot pair finished as well. And obviously, once we've completed our phase 1 tech tree in Navy, we're going to switch over to blasting down the rest of the advanced Air Force. So we're going to get all the bonuses from that as well. So we're going to see a little bit of an uptake here. We've obviously got some trained. Do excuse me, that's my dinner repeating on me. We've got some trained skills we need to really work on top of that. I haven't done his trained skills yet. I'm talking, and I completely forgot what I was doing. He had crit and the paper airplane, because, you know, I can't remember anything for longer than 5 seconds. Crit. Where's the paper airplane? There it is. And what did we give her as well? We gave her that bomb and the leaf. Not that bomb. It was that one. And the leaf. That one. Okay. That's more like it. And what ground have I got? That's infantry base to base. Save formation. Save current lineup. Right. Artillery base to base. Go through the motions again. But this time, hopefully, we won't suck at it and we'll remember what we're doing. I wouldn't hold your breath, guys. I'm looking forward to trying this, let me put it this way. Polar Phantom's not too bad. You know, Polar Phantom's not too bad. I wouldn't be mad about having Polar Phantom at this stage. You know, if I had him, I was originally going to use him, but yeah, that went just as well as you can imagine. Oh, I remembered. Look at me go. Look at me go. I remembered a thing. And And that's all I remember. We'll get there eventually, guys. Don't you worry. I know you're not worried. It's me that's worried. I am concerned. Oh, this one's... I've got to sort out my bombers as well. I've just noticed. Yes, the bombers need to be fixed as well, don't they? Right, well, we'll have to go back through and do all of that as well. You're saving statues for Nagarani? Yeah, she's actually really sound as an officer. I will be getting her at some stage, but that's not going to be any time in the near future. In order to get this twin interceptor build off of the ground, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to get the core fixed first, and then I can worry about the bomber and getting a rotation set up done. Well, I wouldn't hold your breath on a Gen 5 officer either, because how long it takes them to release a new Air Force is just redonkulous. It takes them so long just to do. I mean, it would be nice, be really nice if they pumped out a few more officers for air and navy, because we've got so many officers for tank and versatile on the ground, but we don't have hardly any in terms of air and navy by comparison. So, but I won't hold my breath on that one either, because at the end of the day, they're only going to do what they can get money for. Did I not? It only goes up to 9 by level 3. That's 12. Okay, well, they'll just stick with that then. That will actually be better. Ground. That's artillery base to base. Save. Air Force is now saved. Should be relatively the same across the board. Yeah, look all right, doesn't it? The last one, because I don't use the top one. I don't really need the bottom one, plan 6 either. So we will now go through the motions one more time. Yeah, they did. I mean, I would like to see them give a little bit more love for the free-to-play officers, if I'm honest. The free-to-play officers aren't getting anywhere near enough attention, in my opinion, for bombers or for fighters. I mean, we had like what, Old Stash last year, Lonesome Eagle the year before, Dawn Striker as well was released the year before last, I think. I mean, when we're talking in terms of years, all of a sudden, you realize just how far behind some of these builds are. At least I can remember this bit because I'm not completely mentally retarded. Can't remember the rest of what I was doing, even though I've done it 3 times already. Yeah, well, parent jockey with Comet. as Polar Phantom. No, I would disagree with that. As a free-to-play player, I'd 100% disagree with that. If you're going to pair Sky Jockey with anyone, it's Brisk Eagle. All day, every day. Critical strike bonus when she's awakened. Critical strike rating from her tactical. Critical strike bonus damage. Critical strike. Critical strike bonus. I would say if you're going to pair Sky Jockey with anyone, it's Brisk Eagle. If you're a free-to-play player. That's why this skill's being trained in. I think I had the paper aeroplane, didn't I, on this one? I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not saying you're wrong by putting Comet with Jockey. I can see how that would work, but like in terms of what I would do personally, I would 100% drive that skill a lot harder with critical strike. You identify the one thing you want that unit to do, and then you just start to exploit that stat over and over and over again. So if you're using a critical strike officer and you want that unit to be a critical strike unit, you need to constantly pump critical strike stuff onto it, or unit damage intensity, or normal attack damage bonuses, because ultimately what you'll be doing is you'll be striking over and over and over again multiple times. You want those critical strikes to build up on the target. So if you have more than one officer that's capable of dealing critical strike bonuses to a target, you can totally stack bonus crits. And that's why I've got Darkwing paired with her, because Darkwing is, again, he's a normal attack boost. See, critical strike rating, and he gets bonuses from critical strikes and normal attacks. He also gets a hefty amount of intercept, but you know, here's another critical strike rating. So this unit is going to have like a more than a healthy dose of critical strike. Way more than a healthy dose of critical strike. And that's why I'm building it this way. That's why I'm showing you this week. That's why I'm showing you my unit builds rather than go through separate unit builds. I'm showing you how I build units for myself, because I know what I want the unit to do, so I just need to keep picking at it until I've got it doing exactly that. Anyway, what do we have on Sky Jockey? The bomb and the leaf. Right. That bomb, wasn't it? And that leaf. Now, what did I have? The shield and the intercept buff. Special shield. Intercept buff. And last but not least, we had the medal and the dude with the pistol. Okay. So this is our fighters. This is field defense. It is field defense. Save. So now if we look at all of these should all be relatively the same with the exception of the bomber, which is fine because we're going to be working on the bomber next. Okay, so now what I'll be doing going forwards in terms of officer statues, we're going to get Sky Jockey awakened, then we're going to get Nighthawk awakened, and then we're going to start working on the train skills, because I don't need anything done in Navy, and most of my ground skill stuff is pretty much complete with the exception of the odd one. But I'm not really too fussed about that. My biggest gripe last conquest was I did come up against a few players who I couldn't win in the sky against, and that really irked me. I don't like losing in. So those of you who don't know, I volunteered for the Royal Air Force a long time ago. So when I talk about my Air Force officers in this game, I kind of talk to you about it from a perspective of like I really enjoy the Air Force because that was part of my life for a short period of time. So I really want to have a good Air Force. I would never spend on lounge. No, I wouldn't spend on lounge either. I would say with the rate of how slowly they build up officers for the lounge for the air, you probably could get away with a 12-month investment if you're prepared to pick one of the 6 officers like I did and bring it into rotation while you're doing other stuff. That's exactly what I done with Darkwing. Now, obviously, this is going to take me probably about 10 to 12 weeks for these two. And then it's going to take me another 12 weeks for these two. So it's not enough time for me to unlock another officer. But I want to say these two. I'm not even going to be using him. Do excuse me. So anyway, that leads me on to the next thing, which is we are going to be looking at the bomber. So as I said at the start of this, before my camera decided it's going to jack itself in and kill itself, we're actually going to be swapping this to a Liberty bomber, which means we're going to need the officers to reflect that. Now we're going to keep Old Stash. We're going to remove him. We're going to remove the skills. I could have used that on the fighters, really. 15% is actually pretty high. Okay, first things first. Let's get the officer in that we're going to be using. Which will be Dawn Striker. Now, this officer setup, we're going to be using a lot of really heavy firepower because we're going to want to be dealing a lot of skill damage with the Liberty Bomber. We're going to want to be dealing loads of skill damage with the Liberty Bomber. So we're going to want something that's going to really reflect that. Bomber stability, we could use this, a stat that counters the fighter's harassment capability and reduces the impact on enemy fighter planes on the bomber's damage. We could use that, but it seems fairly pointless. We do have twin interceptors. That is basically going to be our stability buff is going to be the twin interceptors. We want to keep everything off of it. Balanced. I think he's already training someone, so we can't use that. Damage resistance. I know Rictus Reaper is a lounge officer, so we don't really want to use that. Intercept resilience buff. Now that might be useful. Remove those two. Does he have a special that we can use? Stability and firepower. So we get an additional 30% firepower bonus if we use him, and that is a bomber special. Oh, would you look at that? We get a 30% bomber firepower bonus. Thanks, Pixie. I'm glad I awakened you when I first got the opportunity. I think she was actually the fun fact. I think she was either the first or second officer I awakened. And Brisk Eagle was like the fourth or third. Outside of the free-to-play introductory officers, which is like what? War Machine. I can't even remember who they are now. That's how often I use them. There's War Machine. Bloody Mary, and Sergeant Spanner. Obviously, I had him. I reset him for the statue transfer, so I could get someone else awakened. I forget who. I think it was. I think I got Steel Angel. So once I had those three unlocked, I think it was Brisk Eagle and Pixie I got first. So good officers to have, excellent officers to have, even in training. We've got no additional gear to pick here, so there's no point in even looking at that. We probably want. We can't take that. No, we don't want that. We'll take the bomber HP. It's not ideal. Can we take? We've got damage resistance if we take this, and it gives us damage intensity. 10% could be better on the fighters, but the damage resistance bonus is going to be useful for us. See what we can have on offense. Oh fuck no, we're taking the fire. We're taking the firepower skill. And then we will. Oh, we can't have them both, can we? Damn it. Yeah, that's what we'll go for. So this will be our bomber setup. Because obviously we're going to be having a Liberty bomber that is going to be dealing a hefty amount of skill damage. I am in field defense. Safe formation. Now we've got to go back and do this all over again. Oh, I've already started this one. Fantastic. Now I've just got to make sure. Oh, fantastic. That's normal attack boost. We don't want that. Go away. And that one, we don't want that either. Because we want his special on you. Because it's going to be a firepower boost. And we want the firepower boost from you. And we want that. Oh, look at that. I didn't even need to remember what it was I was doing. Except I can't remember. I did do artillery base to base. No, this isn't artillery base to base. This is S2 defense. No, it's not. This is artillery base to base. nearly fucked up there. Nearly fucked up. Yep, looks good. Looks good. Onto the Air Force we go. Remove you. We'll leave that one in there. Put Dawn Striker in. I'll get to the training. Give me that. This is infantry base to base. This is just the irritating bit. I've got to go through everything. Instead, I wish I had like some way of like dragging one of these into another one to be like, hey, I want to keep this, or I could set it up just from this page. Because if I could set it all up from this page, it would be so much faster. I think this is part of the fun, though. I guess organizing everything. S2 defense. And there we have it. That is our entire air fleet set up and ready to rock for the next conquest. So that's the process I go through. I try to do this at least at the end of or before the start of every conquest. Obviously, the last one finished, I think it was like last week or something. So we're going through this a little bit earlier than I normally would. But because I had the fighter skin, honestly, I just wanted to show it off. I figured, it's a 7% gold interceptor fighter skin. Now, full disclosure, as always, this did involve financial investment. However, as always, I hope you think that I'm honest when I say full disclosure, because I do openly say when I have paid for something. Although this cost money, I did not pay for it. I got a tip at work over the weekend because someone won like a bunch of money, and I just went and turned it into Google Play points, as well as buying. For those of you who are in my Discord, you'll know that I bought a couple of PlayStation 4 games, but I put the rest on Google Play points because I was like, well, I might use it for the blue exchange tokens to get this fighter skin, because I knew I'd be able to apply one fighter skin to two fighters. Thus, I would then have to change just the bomber. And obviously, the Vanguard bomber doesn't have a bomber skin, but the Liberty bomber does. So that was, again, going to be beneficial to me. So because I've done it that way round, that's there you go. That's what I've ended up with. I've ended up with that, and I think this cost me out of my own pocket like £30. And before we talk about anything else, hopefully you guys remember that I said something about saving your gear tokens, and I said I was saving them for a specific event. Well, in case you were unaware for whatever reason, this was the event I was talking about, the Crucible project. Now, I can't show you yesterday's, but I can show you yesterday's score. So yesterday I completed it. I got the full 433 I needed to complete it. Today I have ran out, so that leaves me with a little bit of a think. Like, I've been thinking about this. Like, I got all the way to the end to get. So what I'm after really are these legendary universal gear pieces. That's what I'm really after, is these legendary universal gear pieces. So if I done a maximum of 42k a day, this goes over 7 days. On the last day, I could probably dump it up to 156, and I would actually get more universal gear pieces than what I have done through just completing one single day. So let that be a lesson to you guys. My mistake. And next month, when this event comes round, that is exactly what I plan on doing. I'm going to try and hit 42, maybe 156 on the odd day, depending on how many of these gear keys I get saved up. And that is what I fully intend on doing, exactly that, because these legendary gear pieces are worth so much to you in terms of gear. You're going to be able to really pump whichever faction or whichever part of your faction you need. Obviously, I'm putting all of my gear pieces at the moment into my navy because I want my navy to be extra strong, and we're sort of like filling this out on the side. My ground is getting its own. Yeah, this is just getting done passively because there's so many of them. It will eventually top itself up, but with only 4 and 4 available for the navy and air versus the 8 available for the ground, we can split our time between these two and be better in 2 arenas instead of just being better in 1. So I really can't stress enough how important the Crucible project event is. As it happens at the moment, we do have 4 left, so we may as well just chuck these away in the event we get something. Oh, we got 10 out of that one. That's not too bad. That means we go up another level, and that is also on our armored destroyer, which is brilliant. Might even give us a boost in the crucible, which it does. Question is, can we get it any higher? We need another 20k. I think we only just went up like, how much was this one? 10? No, this was 25. So we probably, I think we were on 17. So we just gone up 7k from that. I don't think we're going to get 7k. How else can we earn points? Drill orders, compute cards. Tomorrow is Thursday, so we will be getting the drill orders in. So that's not too bad. Do I have enough? I do have enough. So we will be getting that. We have a free compute. We do have some of those. That might give us a little bit extra. Cool, I guess. I didn't even know that was on. And shit out of luck there. Did that give us anything else in Crucible? With 10k, 10,500 short. Oh no, drill orders are the no, drill orders are the what's it's the doodads, these things. Oh, I've got 2 of them. That's handy. Arms coupons are 500. That's frustrating. Oh, you get points for using rushes though. Oh, do you know what? What? We can probably find all missing. Has that helped? That has. There we go. We've got another gold one here. Excellent. How can we use that? It's going straight on this one. No, I'm an idiot. I know exactly what I'm clicking on. Ignore that. So obviously we want our armored destroyer to be able to... There's no splash damage at the moment in the Navy. So if someone's offline in a base-to-base situation, having the maximum amount of damage resistance for our armored destroyer is going to allow me to capitalize on their base, especially as I'm moving into the realms of having twin missile destroyers to absolutely like hound the enemy base. And what we will do is we'll probably sort out the... Do we want to sort out the gear for that though? Do we need to sort the gear for that out though? That is the question. Well, both the gear is on that. No gear is on that one. No, we'll just leave it. We'll leave the gear on one unit and just hope the enemy doesn't target that one if they pop out and attack us. And there you have it. That's the bomber. Let's have a look and see what the bomber's doing now. Just send it out at that one. Protect it with the fighters. The fighters are working beautifully. And it looks like even without full skills, that is a fairly sound bomber for me to use. You want an Argent Flame for the sea? Ooh, I don't know. I would really like to see a I'd really like to see a submarine dedicated officer. I'm not playing a sub at the moment, but I plan on having a sub in rotation going forwards. And I would do excuse me, my throat's getting dry. I would really like to see a dedicated sub officer that maybe like once he's awakened will decrease the submerge time after he's been spotted or something like that. So we get some, we can utilize that a little bit better for our field play and our hit and run tactics out in the field. And obviously, in some of the arenas, we've got those special skirmish zones now. Subs are absolutely brilliant in the skirmish zones. I've used them in the skirmish zones as well. So very, very cool pieces of kit. I'd like to see that sort of being brought into play a little bit more. So there you go, guys. That's my Air Force is now set up. We've got twin interceptors with a 7% firepower skin each. We've got one pure crit build and one pure skill damage build. We've now also set up the bomber. It is now ready for me just to bring in the Liberty bomber immediately. Oh, we didn't discuss the Liberty bomber, even though I don't have it. Those of you who have been with my YouTube channel since I started these Warpath videos will know that way back yonder there were the first two modern units I got were the anti-tank gun and the Liberty bomber. Those were the first two modern units I had, and I do believe I still have my modern parts for it, or at least some of the parts for it. It doesn't actually tell me if I own them here or not, does it? Parts. Filter. Liberty Bomber. Oh, do you know why I can't see it there? Because I decided to store it on here. Smart. We've got double HP rather than firepower because I'll change that maybe later on down the line. Let's see how well the bomber performs with HP first, because I'm not going to be able to attack enemy bases anyway. I won't have a blocker unit, a soak unit, so I will be predominantly using this as a defensive weapon for approaching AGs and stuff like that. And yeah, we'll see how we get on. But we've got some fairly good parts on here, and we've now got a couple of officers in the mix, which are going to increase its survivability, and the HP will help as well with its survivability. We're really pumping out the firepower bonuses. So this is going to go up to a Liberty bomber. Now, obviously, I've saved up 3,500 exchange tokens. And originally, I'd saved them up for these fighter skins. Now, foreshadowing. I happen to know that the golden Dorito goes into there every so often. So I'm going to get myself a golden Dorito skin when it appears. Because everyone starts panicking when the sky is missing pixels. And I really want that skin now. And that's going to give me an additional 5% firepower. And I think that actually gives me additional bonuses. Let's have a look at the additional bonuses we get. Okay. First of all, I also want to do another disclosure. So I didn't just get the Gilded Glory, I got the entire set. So we got additional damage intensity and we got fighter plane firepower of 4%. So in reality, our interceptors are actually rocking a total of 11% firepower because you get 7 from the skin for having it equipped, and then you get an additional 4% for owning it per fighter plane. So yeah, this is why I wanted that skin. Obviously, with the rest of the things, we get a damage intensity of 1%, which is fantastic. Right, on to the golden Dorito. Where is it? Where is the golden Dorito? It's pretty far back from what I remember, because it's a pretty old skin at this point, I think. Like I'm fairly sure it's a pretty old skin at this point. Been about for a while. Oh, can't be this far back. I must have gone past it. Nope, there it is. So simply owning the skin will give me an additional 4% bomber firepower, and then obviously you get 7% for having the skin equipped. So we are going to be looking at having an additional 11% firepower on the bomber anyway, and we're also going to be rocking that massive firepower set of buffs as well. And I'm pretty sure the Gundam's a classic skin. Yeah, I'm not getting the Gundam because that's gonna cost me in excess of £700. And as much as I love this game, I love my wallet more. And I don't mind spending maybe a little bit of money here and there if it means I'm going to get the golden Dorito. But do you know what? I don't necessarily have to have the golden Dorito. Um, I will accept the Christmas wedge as well, which will also give me the same buff. Uh, and if I can get them both, that's even better because then I'll get a total of 15% bomber firepower for having one of those equipped and both of them owned. So that's pretty good as well. But this is also on a classic skin. Yeah, to own them out of the showroom is pretty cool. I wish I'd probably put in a little bit more time to try and get these skins prior. Obviously, the other skin I probably could have got would have been Ra's Wrath. I don't think we can get the pyramid anymore because we can't actually go to the Conquest store where this is available anymore. So missed out on this one. You can still get Ra's Wrath. That sometimes appears in the exchange. But the thing that's frustrating above all else is we have to wait for this one to end, and then we've got to wait 3-4 days before the next one comes round, and then they put in a new one. And I think they rotate it so you get command truck skin, unit skin, command truck skin, unit skin. I think I can't remember. I mean, this is a pretty cool skin. I do like it. We get a bonus of 5% firepower, but at the moment, the one I have kinda better. What have I got? What have I got? Command truck skins. Filter by owned. Troop HP and base HP. 3%, 2%. This is pretty decent. I could also have command truck speed and firepower if I'd rather, but base HP is pretty good. You still can get all of the set. What for the pyramid? You can still get the pyramid from somewhere. Base decorations. No, does it appear in the limited offers then? With everything else, I would imagine so. Like at a push, I mean, at an absolute push, I'll probably get one of these two if I need it in order to get the flying Dorito. But I'm not. I don't intend on spending too much money. I definitely want that flying Dorito skin when it comes around, because it's just. I'm going to get so much power out of this from the air, and in fact, while you're here and you're engaging, what we'll do is we'll talk about my Dominion core for a bit. So my Dominion core now, as you can see, we've got defensive barrier and information warfare. Both of these are maxed, and this is for naval Vanguard naval troops, which is now completely defunct outside of the campaign. And we're working on Liberty naval troops. Actually, speaking of, what we could actually do so we could promote this one. Hear me out. Hear me out. Or we could promote this one. Quick enhance. Can't do it. HP quick enhance. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? Prototype quick enhance that as well. And then let's have another stab at the campaign. See if we can get through the campaign. Yeah. Clear disadvantage, allegedly. Allegedly. See if we can clear out as many of these as quickly as possible. Hopefully at a slightly higher level. Hopefully. We should be able to take these out a little bit quicker. Ooh, it's going to go down to the wire. The question is, can my anti-air destroyer survive? Can he get the skill shot off in time? Oh! No, no. He's whiffed it. All right. Well, at least we've got a starting point here. Just the last one. Damn typical. Damn typical. What we could do is quite a bit of naval parts, prototypes. Okay, we just need some of these. Let's go into the naval campaign store. Just crank those up. Take a few days, but we'll get there. We'll get there. You're at the bottom of phase 1. Well, Dominion Core is pretty important. And I've been debating whether or not at the end of this conquest, whether I push phase 2. And what I've elected to do is not push phase 2. And that was solely down to how badly I got my ass kicked in the air in the last conquest. If my fighters were still dominant and I was still winning quite happily, I would be mass pounding phase 2 with the exchange, with the token exchange. But I think once I've hit the maximum in phase 1, I'm going to probably passively generate for phase 2 for the foreseeable future until I at least get advanced air off the ground and in use. I might even after that do advanced tanks just so I can have bonus damage resistance and damage intensity across the board for absolutely everything. But we'll see. I mean, by the bonus damage intensity and resistance across the board, what I mean specifically is these two skills here, getting these to level 10, because this affects all units, ground, naval, and air. So you know, these are quite important skills. You can get them relatively easily. That'll take just a few months just to blitz down this tree at the bare minimum, and then get these two, and then max them out. And you know, we've already made a good stab at the Air Force. 6,000, well, that's a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe. Like, you can get that, so that's doable. That's very doable, and the resources as well is quite doable to get that. So we're looking at this being done. Dominion Core, this will take about a week and a half, and this should take about a week and a half. So I'll have this done in 3 weeks. So probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks into the next conquest, I should have these two done, and then I'll be looking at saving up and getting Valkyrie sorted for my bombers. So next conquest, although it is predominantly a naval, is it a naval map? Yeah, it is a naval map, isn't it? Where the center naval, yeah, the center is naval. It's like mostly a naval map. Um, even though it is going to be mostly navy, I am going to prepare and get better air, because how I play very heavily relies on my air superiority. So when I'm doing base to base ground pounding, I need my twin interceptors to cover anything that's not in base to base range. When I am assaulting enemy bases, obviously I'm now going to be removing the anti air destroyer, which is going to be my main source of anti-air in the Navy. So that's now going to be transferred entirely over to the fighters. So again, I'm going to need that if anything's outside of base-to-base range. Defensively, I'm going to be sacrificing the single target devastation from a single dive bomber in favor of the strategic bomber. So is that going to be better? Is that going to be worse? Technically, it's going to be worse for fighting things like anti-tank guns, but it'll be better for fighting pretty much any other squishy unit on the ground. Infantry and anti-tank guns are going to have a little bit more to say against the Liberty bomber than, say, the Vanguard bomber did. There's a bit more resistance available to those two types of units there now, and obviously I do still have a stun capability. It's just not going to be as good. So it's a trade-off. I'm going to have a little bit less. I can't just simply hit bomb a target and forget about it. I do have to either wait for the target to stop, or I have to wait for the target to move into a pattern outside the base, and then I can just bomb it. I can use it as area denial. There's a whole bunch of things I can use, but without those fighters, and this is the key thing, without those fighters, that bomber is useless. My base to base capability is useless, as is my naval base to base capabilities. Those everything is evolving around my twin interceptors, and how I utilize that as an asset going forwards. So I think it's time I get the air tech done, because my air superiority is so heavily dependent. And if I cannot maintain air superiority when I'm trying to attack someone's base, then I'm screwed. You know, hats off to Burpee from Last Conquest. His fighter was able to soak up my damage output from my twin interceptors, and his bomber was just making absolute mincemeat of the army group I was in control of, absolute mincemeat, and that is the problem. I don't like having that being done to me. I've had that done to me back in Cairo, when Cairo was a map, and that's what set me down the road of having, I must have at least one good fighter. And now I'm at the stage where I'm like, one good fighter is good in 99% of my games, but it's not good in 100% of my games. I need two good fighters, and for that, I will need the tech as well. Lib is very easy to dodge, yes, but there is an additional bonus when you're base to basing someone and you blow up their base. The Liberty Bomber does come into its own there as well, where you can just basically hit the grid in the center and you can hit everything at the same time. So it does have its benefits. It certainly has its benefits, and that's exactly what I'm playing on. I'm playing on having access to those benefits. So everything's thought out going forwards. We're going to have to sacrifice progression with our navy tech for the time being, which obviously Dominion does affect both air and ground as well as the navy, but it is predominantly navy. But that's okay, because what we're picking up instead is we're going to pick up damage resistance and damage intensity across the board from everything else in advanced, and we're passively going to be generating for phase two. And then once we're ready, we're going to come back to phase two and we're going to smack that down and get our name on the board for phase three. So that should only take me a few months, hopefully. We'll see. Air is notoriously expensive, and I do want that tree complete, because I don't think there's no reason why I shouldn't have it complete. So anyway, thank you for the chats, Mad Demon there. That's very helpful, obviously asking questions and that. I've been the Smoking Cheddar, and you guys have been very patient. We've discussed at great length the entirety of my air setup and where we're going with it and how that's going to affect the ground and everything else. We've looked at the skills, we've looked at the unit, we've looked at the skin, we've looked at why we've got the skin, why we're using this unit, why we're not using a Liberty Fighter and we're using a Liberty Bomber instead, and why we've moved into that. What about Darkwing and Nighthawk? Not particularly a good skill combo to have. Predominantly, Nighthawk is a skill based officer, so we are looking at dealing skill damage here. And Darkwing is a critical strike and normal attack based officer. So these are good together. I'm not saying they're bad together, then they are very good together. What I am saying is that when you are building a unit personally, and I do kind of think you guys come here for my personal opinion because of how well I sometimes perform. I don't perform well all of the time. I'm not the best player out there by a long shot. But I will say that some of my unit builds really do perform well. And the reason why they perform well is because I take one specific mechanic and then I exploit that onto that unit. So if you're using a critical strike officer, you want to make sure your secondary officer is also critical strike based. If you're using damage intensity, you want to make sure your damage intensity is on your second officer. If you're using firepower, it's firepower on the second officer. And this goes across the board for soaking units. If you're using damage resistance and HP, or you're using other mechanics, if you're using artillery and you're trying to deal as much skill damage as possible, you're going to want high skill damage boosters, and you're going to want a lot of firepower. If you're using helicopters and light tanks and MBTs and you're trying to deal unit damage, not skill damage, to a target for hit and run tactics perhaps, then you're going to want a lot of things like damage intensity, and you're going to want both of those officers to reflect what it is you want out of the damage output. Now, I like my interceptors to give me air superiority over a target. The best way to do that is to utilize the intercept stat. Before I go now, I will explain the intercept stat a little bit more so you understand why I've built my fighters the way I have. So the intercept stat here, superior intercept from other fighters. That's not what I wanted. Intercept. Here we go. Intercept allows a fight plane troop to deal bonus damage, intercept damage, with its first strike in battle. The higher the intercept value, the more damage the first strike deals. So what we're looking at with twin interceptors is really using officers that have this intercept value. So obviously we have an intercept value. We have an intercept value. We have an intercept value, and we have an intercept value. So we're using twin interceptors, we're using all intercept officers, and then we have two of those officers are critical strike based, so we're pairing them together for critical strike damage. and two of those officers are skill damage based, so we're going to pair them together. So we're going to absolutely gel the hell out of both sets of officers, and obviously, as we went through earlier, we are using the gear to reflect that. So skill, we are using normal attack, because that's what skill damage is. It's what a skill shot is. It is a normal attack that has been buffed into a critical strike. So we're going to want your normal attack boosts to be high, and that's why we've got the gear set up the way it is. We've got normal attack boost, normal attack boost. That's why. So I'm not saying that Darkwing and Nighthawk is a bad combination. They are both very good officers. What I'm saying is you're not stacking a single ability. Now, the downside of stacking a single ability means that you have a single weakness. So if I come up against someone with a particularly high damage resistance or high um, maneuverability, for example, who's very resistant to intercept, I'm not going to do as well. But in the case of taking out enemy bombers, in the case of engaging firepower heavy fighters or other interceptors, I'm either going to be on an equal footing or in a massive advantage. And because we're using two of them, we're basically getting double your trouble. So, you know, having twin interceptors does allow me to effectively stack the intercept bonus twice on a single target, if the enemy should only have one fighter or one bomber. And obviously, if you are hitting that target with an intercept bonus, you're taking a large chunk of damage off of that unit. And if you manage to kill some of that unit, as you have seen in battles going forwards, and historically, you'll notice that if you get a 2 to 3 million point gap on your opponent, you are going to deal more overall damage while they deal less overall damage, and they have less overall hit points, so you subsequently kill them faster. So the whole point of intercept is to give you that damage gap bonus really early on, hence why I'm using twin interceptors. So the whole strategy comes together with me just slamming my fighters into a fight and just absolutely dogging the hell out of people. And simply mass stacking those stats on a single fighter. Like I said, nothing wrong with having it set up that way. It's perfectly good. But for me personally, I like to stack all of my stats the same way so I can really leverage that ability. And if I have to, and this is the thing, if I have to split my fighters up or one of my fighters gets destroyed, I'm not going to lose all of my I'm not going to lose like 2/3 of my firepower. I'm only going to lose like half of my firepower because all of my skills and stats are stacked in one particular thing for one particular fighter, and then they're stacked again for the other fighter. So as a result, only losing one fighter, I'm not going to be hindering myself by losing a bunch of mechanics and taking a hit to a bunch of mechanics. I'm only going to be losing half of those mechanics. So I hope that's really, like, I know this is a bit of a long-winded answer to the Darkwing Nighthawk situation. I did kind of cover it earlier before you were here, but I just wanted to make sure that you really understood, in case you didn't want to go back and watch it, why I've done it that way. So, hi Jormungand, we've approached the end of the stream. My camera stopped working at the start, so you can't see me waving to you, but rest assured I am like an absolute lunatic. So thank you all very much for coming and sitting in tonight, and having my very lengthy explanation on why I'm using my fighters now. I am going to have a drink of Iron Brew. I'm going to sit in Discord and I'm going to play with my base for a little bit, and then I am going to log the hell off for the evening on this game, and I'm going to play something else. So once again, I've been the Smoking Cheddar. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Thank you for sitting in, and as always, a link to the Discord is in the description box down below, along with a link to my favorite charity, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week. Side note, if anyone's playing Baldur's Gate 3, can hit me up on Discord. Can't seem to find anyone who wants to play regularly. So if you've got Baldur's Gate 3, I'm sure we can arrange a day. A little play date. Play date with some cheese. Or something. I don't know. Or don't. And I'll just keep fishing for people in threads, the social media platform threads. And I'll just be a loner forever on that game. That's probably more likely. So